Hello, welcome back to Rouse Rising. If you are new here, my name is Katie, and on this channel, I share all about holistic homemaking, lifestyle, and parenting. If you're into all that, go ahead and give this channel a subscribe. We would love to have you a part of the Rouse Rising family, and click that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of my latest uploads. Today, I have for you a meals of the week, and most of it's made from scratch, but just like everybody else in the world, I have a few fast food tricks up my sleeve for you, or at least our version of fast food in our home. And I'm excited to share that with you today. So I've got lots of yummy stuff, lots of meal ideas for you today. So check it out. And when this video is through, give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Okay, this is fast food in the Row house. This is a can of, or a glass jar of beef stew. So, sorry, it's not beef stew. Gosh, where's my head? It's deer stew and my deer meat's stuck in the bottom. There we go. Delicious. I'm gonna reheat this. So, there you go. Delicious meal. Ready to go. Just reheat and eat. I'm gonna make some more of these because it's just too easy and everybody loves it. I'm gonna link this recipe up here. Oh, you know what? I'm not even sure that I've posted this yet, but if I have, I'm gonna go back and look. I will link it up above. This is the most refreshing homemade fizzy summer drink. Your own homemade soda without a machine, without any special gas mechanism, product. Sugar, water, kefir grains, and then some fruit to do the second ferment. I have pineapple in here. Pineapple is by far our favorite. We use frozen fruit for our second ferment. It works amazing. Oh, is it good? Good. Gonna roast up this tray of veggies and make a delicious soup. We're also gonna be cooking up these red lentils, and these really help stretch a meal. And we're also gonna be cooking those red lentils in this chicken stock. This is chicken stock or chicken broth that I made back last October, and it's been sitting on the shelf stable, since then. So I like to cook all of my grains and things in broth because it adds a depth of flavor and it adds additional nutrition that we all need in our bodies. So I'm just going to cook these lentils up. I'm going to add some salt to the lentils, and this is what they look like when they're all done. Now, I did use extra broth because I'm going to be adding those vegetables that are in the oven roasting. And we're going to blend all of it together. We're going to mix it all up, and we're going to make a really tasty butternut squash pureed soup that we will then be able to use in other dishes. We can use it to make macaroni and cheese. I'll show you that here in a little bit. I'm also going to be using this to make Becky from over at Acre Homestead. You guys saw it in a previous video of mine, a food prep video, but this soup, her recipe is different than mine, but the idea came from her, and I'm actually not following a recipe. I'm just using what I have, which is the butternut squash, the carrots, the onions, and that's how we're going to make this pureed soup. So you can use whatever vegetables you want that are kind of in the same color family so that you're getting a nice, beautiful soup. You don't want it to look brown when you puree it or unappealing by any means. That's why I use the red lentils, because those blend in really well, and everything purees up nicely with this immersion blender. This is from KitchenAid, and I use it for making mayonnaise. I use it for pureeing soups. I use it for so many different things. I really like it. So this soup is just going to get pureed nice and creamy. And from there, we're going to be able to use this for a variety of things. I'm also going to portion this out into Ziploc bags and freeze some of it to save for later. Okay, over here we've got our mixture for our pasta tonight. This is a sausage blend. We've got some cream cheese in there. We're also going to be adding the soup to this, and we're gonna get this all mixed together and make a nice sauce for our pasta. So I like to salt my water when I cook my pasta, and I'm using real salt to do so. I'm also seasoning my soup sauce mixture just a little bit. And we're also gonna add some parsley to that. So what is in here is sausage, we've got the butternut squash soup, we've got a block of cream cheese, and I just added some parsley, and then I'm gonna add some shredded cheese to this to just add a little bit more creaminess, a little bit more cheesiness to it. I'm using less cheese than I normally would if I were going to make like a macaroni and cheese or something like that, because the butternut squash does provide that creaminess, that nourishment to this sauce. So it's one way to hide vegetables in your food for your family. And then I got these radishes from the farmer's market, and I just roasted these in the oven, and we're just eating them right now. Like, these aren't even gonna make it to the dinner table. We're just gobbling them up because they're so tasty. I love roasted radishes. I added some breadcrumbs to the top, a little bit more cheese, some parsley, threw it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes, and it came out delicious. And because I used spicy sausage in the other pasta, I made a homemade macaroni and cheese with the butternut squash soup, and I added a bunch of cheddar to this and some salt and pepper, and it just made a really creamy, delicious macaroni and cheese for my kids that are not going to want to eat this. Here we have some sausage, some onions, and red peppers that I chopped up and had in my freezer. And then I'm gonna add about 14 to 16 eggs to this bowl. And this is gonna be for a quiche. Now, my recommendation for quiche is, this is what my friend Penny told me. She said, every 4 eggs, you add a cup of milk, and that's how you make your quiche. You can add whatever else you like to it, and just make sure you're adding cheese and using some milk, and anything else goes. So whatever you have in your refrigerator, just pull out the veggies you need to use up, pull out some meat you need to use up, crack some eggs, add some milk, and you can do this in a variety of ways. You can then use the mixture to bake in a Pyrex glass dish, to which you can cut those up into squares and serve your family like that. Sometimes I use a pie crust and I make a real quiche, but tonight I think we're just going to be adding this to the Pyrex dish and baking it in the oven so that we can have squares of this or egg muffins for this. I am going to shred up this whole block of raw cheese. This is an 8-ounce block of raw cheddar that I got from Azure. I buy this in 10-pound quantities so that I have plenty in my refrigerator and in my freezer, and it comes in these individually packaged portions, which works out really great because I typically use one whole block when we use cheese in a meal. So this whole block is going to go into this quiche, and then other times I'll shred up a block and we'll use it for tacos or whatever. I'm also going to be throwing some finely shredded zucchini into this. You can squeeze out the water from the zucchini. I'm not going to. I'm just throwing it straight in there just to get some extra vegetables. And my kids don't detect the zucchini because of its fine shreddedness, or because I shred it fine. Sorry about that. Then we're going to add our meat mixture into this. I also added and wilted up some spinach. You can add whatever greens you have on hand. Kale would work great. I just like to cook or wilt my spinach a little bit before I add it to my egg mixture. It works really well when I do this. So my oven is preheated to 375, and these are going to bake in there for about 45 minutes. I have 2 Pyrex dishes. I oiled them up or fatted them up or greased them up really well, and then did that. And then I'm using the leftovers in these muffin tins and making little egg muffins. So these are individual portions that are perfect for school mornings for my kids. I just throw these in my air fryer and heat them up on the pizza setting, and it warms them through perfectly. So if you have an air fryer, that's one way to do it to avoid the microwave. or you can reheat these in the oven wrapped in some foil. I have done that as well. Again, these are going to go in the oven. They're going to cook for less time, so just keep your eye on them. It's about 25 minutes is how long it takes for these to cook at 350 or 375 degrees. I'm kind of flexible with my oven settings. I watch things. I don't have like a definite amount of time or a definite temperature, but I just kind of keep my eye on things. But 375 seems to work really well for these quiches. So that's what we're doing today. Once these are done, they are going to sit on my counter for an hour or so, and I'm going to allow them to completely cool. When you first get them out of the oven, they're nice and puffed up, but they will shrink down a little bit. But they're just going to sit here and cool until they're room temperature, and then I'm going to divide them up and put them into large gallon-sized Ziploc bags with some parchment paper in between, and then we'll have those for easy mornings. And to fill the rest of the muffin tin and get the most use out of it, I just cracked some eggs into some greased muffin areas, and those came out perfectly. They cooked up just right. We decided to make some breakfast burritos with one of these quiches. So I'm going to go ahead and I cut it into rectangles, and I'm just wrapping it up. It's already got everything in it. This makes it easy for my kids to eat, and these reheat as well in the air fryer perfectly. They come out so delicious. I like my burritos crispy on the outside. Some people don't, but I think that they're really good if they've got a little bit of crunch to them when you bite into them. The texture is really nice, and this is just a really yummy way to eat your quiche. If you're not going to use a pie crust for it, this is another great idea for food prepping. These are broccoli seeds that I'm sprouting. We use them on sandwiches. They are yummy. And of course, more burritos because I had more to use up. And tonight we are just going to have these for dinner. I'm doing beans, rice, meat, and some homemade pico de gallo on these. And this is what we're having for dinner tonight. And really yummy, really tasty. The kids loved these. I'm sprinkling a little bit of that raw cheddar on top, and then I'm gonna pop these into the air fryer. I'm gonna tell y'all what, I was against having another appliance, but this air fryer has been a game changer. I was given one by a company to try out, and I will leave that linked down below for you all to check out. If you don't have an air fryer yet, it's just been great for me to use in place of a microwave. And here's a little trick. I put a little piece of cheese in my burrito, and it melts and keeps the burrito together so it doesn't fall apart on the kids. And then this is the ricotta I made. If you're interested in learning how to make your own homemade cheese, it's really simple, really easy. I just recently uploaded a video about that. It would be awesome if you all could give it a try. You can use raw milk or you can use store-bought milk. I had way too much whey left over, so I'm going to be using this whey in all of my baking for bread. I'm going to use it in my pancake batter mixes, and I'm also going to be using this whey to make a probiotic-rich drink called whey lemonade. Check that out in my summer drinks video. And then this is a mixture I'm going to be using for lasagna. We've got sausage and beef and carrots and zucchini, and you layer it all up with your raw lasagna noodles and bake it in the oven with your fresh mozzarella, with your fresh ricotta, and it came out beautiful. The family really loved this lasagna. It was so tasty with our homemade cheeses. I was super impressed, and I'm excited to continue using our homemade cheeses in other dishes and other recipes. Next up, we've got my fresh milled sourdough bread boules and the mozzarella cheese. I went ahead and made a second batch, and it turned out well. And I also had a lot of cream that we made ice cream with. Now, not traditional ice cream with a churner. This is just freezer ice cream. Next up, I'm oiling up this dish because I'm going to make some kind of baked bread dough in the oven. I was going to attempt to make focaccia, but I didn't have time on this day to let this rise, and my dough's been in the refrigerator for quite a few days. This is sourdough, and it might be overproofed to a point that it's not going to rise up. So I'm just going to go ahead and use it kind of like just a bread base for my mozzarella and my tomatoes, and then we're going to throw this in the oven and bake it. So I am going to bake this at about 350 degrees for 20 minutes or so. That seems to be the theme of this video. I'm either baking at 375 or 350 for 15 to 20 minutes. You just watch your food, and I say that because we're at an elevation of 4,000 feet above sea level, so my baking requirements are different than somebody that's at sea level. So my recommendations work for me where I'm at. They might work a little bit differently for you. So they're, just bake it in the oven. I know Doug and Stacy, they bake a lot of their food on their wood stove in the wintertime or in their wood-fired oven in the wintertime. And that's not, the most consistent heat, and everything turns out fine. So we can be really strict with our oven temperatures and things like that. But for the most part, I find when I make things at home, I can bake them between 350 and 375 degrees, unless I'm baking sourdough bread, and then I pop it up to 500 degrees and 425 degrees. But for most other things, you can rest assured that baking at 350 is going to be just fine. And this is the bread. I just sliced it up into little pieces for my family. And Riker, he's a clown. He's a funny guy. The rest, we're just going to keep doing this. This is my second batch of mozzarella, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm just doing mozzarella and tomatoes. You can throw some basil on top if you have it. After it's baked, you don't want to put your basil on before it's baked, but after it's baked, throw your fresh basil on there. Throw your fresh parsley or whatever fresh herbs you have. I didn't have anything on hand today, so I didn't do that, but I just sprinkled over the top with some salt, and you can also sprinkle some garlic powder or maybe some onion powder. Really, it's up to you how you do this, but just know that when you are cooking your bread, just watch it so that you don't burn it, and everything's going to come out just fine. We love sweet potatoes, and we love them cooked in this way. So what I do is I cube up my sweet potatoes and I saute them in my cast iron skillet with a little bit of coconut oil and some salt to season after the fact. And once they are nice and soft, I store these in a Pyrex dish in my refrigerator. And then we have cubed cooked sweet potatoes to go along as a side with all of our meals, with our breakfast, with whatever we have going on. So I'm going to do 4 sweet potatoes here today. And this is going to provide us with a side dish for about 3 meals, I would think. One of my kids absolutely loves sweet potatoes cooked like this, so she kept grabbing it out of the refrigerator and just eating the sweet potatoes for a snack. Meals of the week look like this because I'm having an allergic reaction. My husband's out of town for the week, so I'm feeding my kids tonight macaroni, cheese, and peas so I can get right back to resting. I'm going to clean up the stove. I've got some breakfast mess left over, so I'll get that cleaned up tonight. But I'll show you what I'm going to have. This is a sausage and gnocchi frozen soup that I got, I don't know. I guess it was, ouch, it's hot, last year. I need to eat it. I wasn't able to eat it for the last, I don't know how long. The kids ate it once, and they would not eat it again. And I wasn't able to eat it because it had dairy listed in the ingredients, but now that I am back on dairy, or that I can have dairy because my baby doesn't, he's not intolerant to it. So this is what we're going to have tonight. This gnocchi and sausage with kale. So yummy. This is what the kids are having. It's just macaroni cheese, and I throw peas in with it with white cheddar, and that was a simple meal. Back in the day, I thought cornbread came from those little blue Jiffy boxes, but now I know better, and I learned from the best how to make fresh milled corn and wheat cornbread. This was so tasty. I slathered it in butter, and I couldn't wait until dinner time, so I might have snuck a little piece first, but I'm going to show you what we're serving this up with. I'm going to tell you more about this recipe. Oh, it's a permanent one in this house. Okay, this is fast food. I'm going to cook up these refried pinto beans. They're not refried yet, but I can refry them, or I can just dump them out, eat them. We're just going to dump them out, heat them up, and eat them, and we're going to enjoy them with this cornbread. This is a recipe from Felicia over at Greens and Grit, and I must say it is beautiful and delicious. Oh my goodness. Annika and I already had our pieces, so we're going to go ahead and serve up the rest of the kids some dinner with that and these beans. And I'm doing that because I'm a little under the weather, so that's how I make a quick homemade meal. We're also going to have some sprouts with a little bit of dressing on it, so easy peasy. So what we do is we throw a little bit of, this is pig lard that we rendered down from our own pig's fat when we harvested our pigs. And then this is the refried beans. And really when you heat it through and you just stir it, they get really, really creamy with the lard and with the juice that was in with the beans. And the pressure cooking softens the beans and does this. So this is how I refry my beans. Sometimes I do them in the cast iron skillet, but this is the cast iron skillet. It's got the cornbread in it. So I'm just gonna serve this up for my kiddos and see what else we have for them to eat when they're full of this. This is another delicious recipe from Felicia at Grains and Grit. This is cream of wheat. I made it with fresh milled wheat. The kids loved it. I loved it. We topped it with cinnamon apples. And for taco night, we're just having some ground up meat with taco seasoning, this raw shredded cheddar cheese, of course, purple sauerkraut because it's so yummy on tacos. And then these tortillas I bought from the store. I'm still not making my homemade tortillas yet, but yummy. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and until next time, you guys, bye!